Hi guys, welcome to SUSU Podcast with me, Demi Samande. On today's episode, I am talking to the phenomenal Adenike Ogunlesi, a manufacturer through and through. Guys, I'm so excited about this conversation because on entering Nigeria, when I was searching the entire atmosphere for examples of what it is that I wanted to do, manufacturing in Africa for a global market, it was very difficult to find people that I could emulate and really learn from. So on discovering Mrs. O, which is what I fondly love to call her, it was a real breaker for me, a real entry into a real understanding of what it's going to take for me to truly succeed within this space. Guys, I cannot tell you how excited I am to delve into this conversation. Not only is she a great inspiration to me, I also truly believe she's going to be a great inspiration to you. So without further ado, let's jump into today's episode. Mrs. O, I'm so excited to be sat with you today. You were actually one of the very first people that I researched when I landed in Nigeria. Completely blank. No sort of roadmap to what it is that I wanted to do or how to go about it. Well, I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't know in which context I would be able to do it. Coming into this space of manufacturing, again, coming into a space that I absolutely knew no idea about the status quo. And this is somebody who's done it. So this is why I was so excited to speak to you, because before that point, it was almost like a barren land. I didn't know who to speak to. How do you possibly go to a country you've never lived in before and say that you want to set up a factory, you want to manufacture value-added products, and you want to ship it around the world? It seemed like an impossible thing once I landed. So when I came across your story, it was a huge eye-opener. From 1996 up to this point, how would you summarize the journey in the most profound way you could possibly muster up?
I grew up with the understanding that Nigeria was the country of my opportunity. Nigeria was the country that I could be whoever I chose to be. Nigeria was the country that would give me whatever it is I wanted out of life. In how many words summarize my life in manufacturing? I would say it's a story of resilience. It's a story of self-discovery. It's a story of self-regulation, self-leadership, and learning how to get things done. I was in law school for all of 3 months. It was the most boring thing I ever did in my life. I packed my bags and I left. I left also because I could hear my mother's voice in my head that said, "Unto thine own self be true." And this did not feel true to me, to who I was. It didn't feel like this is where I wanted to be. So I needed to leave. Of course, my father is a specialist physician, a medical doctor. My mother is a librarian, and it's like, hello? You don't want to what? I don't want to be a lawyer. And I don't want to go to university in Ahmadu Bello University. And in fact, I don't want to go to any university for it at all. Of course, my father nearly had a heart attack. You can imagine the drama. But my mother, and I am so grateful for her unusual calmness in saying, you know what? Take a year off. Something that wasn't heard of in my generation. Take a year off. Discover yourself, what it is you want to do, and what value you want to create for the world. I just had that kind of a mind that very imaginative, very creative. I could build almost like castles in the air just from my mind. I could create things out of nothing just in my mind. I want to do something else, and I didn't know what it was. But my mother had this trade. My mother came to Nigeria in 1964. She saw adire, found adire in Abeokuta, and she decided to make adire, and she decided to start making clothes from adire. So I grew up with all this creativity around me, and I didn't know how much of it I had actually absorbed through working with my mother as a child, not really working, but having fun playing. Getting my hands into the dye, getting, tying the fabric, learning how to blend color, blue and green should never be seen, but blue and green is an absolutely amazing combination, you know. So I worked with my mother as a child. Well, not work, we played, really. It really was, you know. But went on her trips, her trading trips, went to Balogun with her from the age of like 7, you know, went to Ibadan with her. And so this whole expanse of awareness in this whole fabric, color, print, tie and dye, I had soaked all this up, unknown to me. I suddenly found something that held my attention and held my focus. I would forget to eat. I would forget to do anything. You know, I would be up all night, up all day. I was just this massive ball of energy. And I found something to put that energy into, and it was creating value, and I was able to receive value from a very early age. I mean, university was done. I wasn't going to go back. And I never did go back.
I don't need to be in the classroom to learn. I can learn and be intentional about my learning at this point. And I think that's a really strong message for a lot of people who are listening, and a lot of young people who don't necessarily know, I don't want to go down the educational route, but it doesn't mean you can't still learn. There's so many avenues to knowledge.
It's also because the conventional way of learning is that you go through this set system that is called school. But you can also learn on the job. And a lot of people learn on the job. I can't learn. I learn a limited amount of information. I can only absorb a limited amount of information in a classroom. But if you put me where I am using my hands and I'm using my mind, and I'm having to think and prefer solutions and solve problems and figure things out, it's not going to be a job. I'm just going to enjoy what I'm doing. And I think that's what happened for me.
In manufacturing?
So, yes. So I had no formal education in design, no formal education in sketching, you know, fabrics, none. My daughter has a 4-year degree as a fashion and textile designer, you know, but I didn't have any of those things. And what I did was I made my world my school. So I say I graduated from the University of Life.
Oh, beautiful.
So everywhere I went was an opportunity to learn something because I was trying to get myself to the next level. So people think that you can only learn in the confines of the 4 walls of a classroom. No, you don't. Life itself is learning. Breath is learning. Everything about life itself is learning. So when you put your mind in, box it into a place that you only learn in this environment, you're going to be learning for the rest of your life because you need to define, refine, redefine, and evolve. If you don't, you get left behind. So for me, I realized very quickly that I needed to define who I chose to be. Not what my parents wanted me to be, but what was burning in my soul that needed expression, that I had to give expression to. Otherwise, I would have been the most difficult person to live with. Because until I find and give expression to that which is in my soul, I just can't live like that. And that's why for me, learning anywhere, I can learn anywhere and from anybody. So I would go abroad, I would learn from store assistants, I would learn from literally everybody that I could learn for. I would observe how a waiter attends to customers in a posh shop. Or I would go into a Chanel, even when I couldn't afford anything from Chanel, just to get the feeling of the quality of the service and what it feels like, the way they speak to you, the way they attend to you, the way the store is merchandised, the way the clothes are hung, the branding, the sequencing, the flow. So I learn by observing. I learn by hearing. I learn everywhere. So yes, I didn't have a formal education in what I was trying to do, but if I got on a plane, I was in Selfridges, I was in M&S, I was everywhere, turning clothes inside out. How was this finished? And I hungered for good quality. I always say that there's no other quality in my DNA. So when people tell me I should do a cheaper brand, my brain can't connect with a cheaper brand because it's just not in my DNA. So by the time I'm putting pieces together or I'm looking for fabrics to work with, I always pick the fabrics that are good quality because that's just who I am. And so that flows into the brand. If somebody asked you to do cheaper furniture, could you do it?
That's an interesting question, actually, because I recently had an interview. I mean, I had a meeting. Well, I can call it an interview. It felt very much like that. But I was asked that, I was told that my furniture is very expensive. And I said, well, expensive is relative, right? Because compared to, the brands that I grew up with and I was very familiar with, that I researched and started my own business and emulated, they're incredibly expensive compared to me, you would say, in terms of the price tag. So I said, it's not that I'm expensive. I provide quality, and that's just the cost of quality.
So I feel that you must never justify, and you must never have an argument about quality, because value is something that people perceive differently, and value is something that people are either willing to pay for or they're not.
Yes.
Or it's part of their lifestyle and they understand it, they get it, and they're willing to pay for it because they get it. Otherwise, I just don't bother.
It's a difficult conversation, particularly in Nigeria. When I first arrived, I think I've definitely evolved quite a fair bit. But when I first arrived, I was very like, this is what I want to do. I want to do really high end because that's what I came. That's the background I came from. I came from luxury furniture, and you enter into a market that is so price sensitive that it's like you are working in a very small pool, which is still big enough, right?
So I'm going to interrupt you and say, very price sensitive, and you're working with a small pool of customers. Perhaps you were speaking to the wrong set of customers. Perhaps you needed to switch your narrative to address the customer who wanted something that was unique, something that was handmade. So what story were you telling about the product and the process by which you came about the product and made the product? So Nigeria is such a dynamic country.
It is, yes.
You see extremes. So you have to decide, where do you want to play? And just be the best in class in that place where you want to play. The best in terms of service, the best in terms of product, the best in terms of innovation, the best in terms of the use of technology, the best in terms of people, the best in terms of systems and processes that would drive the sustainability of what it is you want to do.
I think that's also a very valid point. And I think one of the things that we often go back and forth on, young people who are doing business in Nigeria and who want to sort of operate within, and who have a very clear idea of what space they want to work in. And I think sometimes the pressure comes from the fact that there comes a point in your quality that that those who can afford that quality don't necessarily believe that local production is good. And I think that's really where the tricky part is, right? So I think my response to that really is what we've been doing in the last couple of years. We make furniture and we sell it to the world. If you can afford it, we'll export it to you. It's not a problem. But it took us a while to get there. It took us a while to get there because there was a lot of hurdles that we first had to jump, which is, how do we achieve quality locally? I don't have the resources I had in England. I have to be very honest about that. So I have to find creative ways to bridge that gap. I'm also paying extremely overboard from the cost of my raw materials that I'll typically get in England. I just call my suppliers within 24 hours, I get a credit line. I want a credit line for my business to run, to pay for operations. I have access to all of that. Coming into an environment where you don't have that support, there's nothing on the backbone supporting that part of your business. But on top of that, you're now spending sometimes 3 to 6 times what you typically spend for raw materials, because you now have to pay for duty to bring things in, or you now have to invest a huge amount of time, which equates to money, on quality control for the raw materials you're trying to source locally. So when you put factors like that into play and you realize, wait, this thing is not the average market retail price. I have to make, this thing extensively expensive, which is going to reduce my, my pool of customers. But those pool of customers are still evolving and they have come a long way. I must be very, very honest.
I was going to say, you keep saying it reduces your pool of customers. Why do you think it reduces your pool of customers?
Within Nigeria?
Why do you think it reduces the...
Because I think what's really enticing about a place like Nigeria is when you're coming in and you hear the narrative of 200 million people.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's a huge market.
Yeah, but it's not, the market is not 200 million people. We all know that.
Yes.
Because I think 3/4 of that is a young generation.
Correct.
That can't afford But within that context, that what is left is still a sizable.
It's absolutely sizable, yes.
So it's so I'll tell you what we did at Rough and Tumble. It was now about a lifestyle, and it was about telling the story of a lifestyle, of how children should look and children should dress, as opposed to the way people used to dress their children. And I couldn't find an ad agency who understood lifestyle. They were used to commodities. So they were used to selling toothpaste, Omo, and things like that. So the concept of a lifestyle was kind of strange to them. So it meant that I had to start reading branding and marketing books to know how to market a lifestyle brand that I wanted to create. The thing about Nigeria is, once you can focus on the opportunity and you have a very open, agile, and flexible mindset, because for me, that's the only thing that can work in Nigeria. Your ability to switch, move, literally think on your feet is the only thing that can help you survive here. But we're talking about the size of the market, yeah? So what did that mean for us at Rough and Tumble? It then meant that we needed to do things differently from the way everybody else who was already in the industry was operating. So we decided to open these stores that were set up like a store that you would find anywhere else in the world. A small retail boutique type store. We had carrier bags made. I dressed up the sales team. I gave them a script. I trained them on the script. No, you can't eat in the store. But mother, no, you can't eat in the store. Go eat under the tree. Go eat anywhere, but you can't eat in the store. And set a whole new level of operating standards by which we then became the benchmark for retail. Nobody was doing window displays or window merchandising. We started it. We started with mannequins in the window, coordinated in color. We created seasons because people told me nobody's going to buy children's clothes outside of Christmas. I said, so between January and December, the children are going to run around naked, eh? Oh my, there'll be a lot of naked children running around Nigeria. No, they're not. But you have to create a need where people didn't know they had a need. Now, for me, how would that translate for you? It would translate into people are becoming very house proud. So even if people are living in a one-bedroom apartment now, the internet has opened the mind space and mindscape of so many people that they now know that actually, I don't want people to come to my house and see me living like this. So I want to buy a piece of furniture that is nice. Even if it is expensive, there will be that level who will buy it one piece at a time. So how do you sell that to them? A lifestyle. That's basically what it is. So yes, I'm selling to the world who already understands a mindset, but I've also got a captive local market that I can, depending on the story that I tell, I can influence them in a way that we build trust and they see value in what I am giving. And they would say, if I'm thinking of children's clothes, if I don't go to Rough and Tumble first, I don't go anywhere else. You can't pay for that. You really can't pay for that. But it's a lot of work.
Oh, yes.
And how is it a lot of work? It's about the people. It's about the systems. It's about technology. It's about understanding finance. It's about the product as well. I remember then, if we have a product that in our research and development or quality control of the fabric, we missed something, I could take 400 pairs of trousers off the line and they're gone because I'm not going to sell them in any store. And if a customer comes and says, I bought this from you, this happened, I would take it from you. But we have a whole team. There's a whole team who they call customers, they deal with all these kind of complaints. If we have done something wrong, we will give you a full refund, a 10% refund, a 20% refund, depending, but there's a spectrum that sort of guides what we do. And that's how you build trust. So I bought a washing machine or dryer. I can't remember which one it is, and I'm trying to get it fixed. And the people are tossing me from here to there and tossing me from there to there and asking me for the receipt of something I bought a year ago. That's not customer service. If I'm going to buy another washing machine, am I going to go back to that place? No, I'm not. Because you didn't make me feel good about where I spent my money. You have to make me feel, because I didn't steal the money. You know, I worked for it. I learned how to take a naira and make it 10. I learned how to take 10 naira and make it 100. You need skills to do that. You need focus. You need mental resilience. You need discipline. In fact, you need laser focus. You need discipline, mental discipline, physical discipline to be able to achieve some of those things. A clear plan. You need to know what you want. So clarity, commitment, consistency. I have a list of C's, by the way, that everybody laughs at. But I don't know whether it's something that I should share here. And I always say that, look, the first C is your commitment. So are you interested or are you committing to something? Yeah? If you're committing to it, okay, then you need to be consistent. Because your commitment will get you started. Your consistency is what is going to keep you going. Because you're putting one brick on top of the other, till you have a 6-foot wall. So your commitment, your consistent. I have to go back to the top all the time. Don't mind me.
It's
your
okay.
commitment, your consistency, you then have to learn and have the ability to cooperate with different people that you have to work with. And when you build a team that you can cooperate to achieve a result and achieve a project, you now have to learn to collaborate with external parties. And what drives all of this? Communication, communication, communication. That's what drives all of it.
So you mentioned technology.
Yes.
In the years, well, since let's just say from 1996, how has RUFF and TUMBLE sort of moved with the technology age over the years so far?
I was very pro-tech from very early on, because the idea of people writing out, somebody buys 10 dresses and somebody is sitting there handwriting every single item on a they used to call it an invoice or a receipt or whatever they called it in those days, drove me absolutely nuts. I didn't have the patience for it because, again, it was wasting the time of the customer. There's a queue for people to pay. People get itchy, angsty. They want to go. You don't want that. So I got these 2 young boys who were technology students to write me a very short program.
What year was this? So it wasn't 1996, was it?
1998.
Okay, so 2 years for you guys to
1998.
jump onto technology as automation.
1998, yeah. So they wrote me this program, and then both of them decided to emigrate to Canada. And I damn nearly killed both of them, because then I was left with this program that nobody knew how to operate. But by this time, of course, the benefits and the advantages of technology, you then become fully aware of them. And then it's, so I then started to dig and then found a program called Dark Easy. Then I found a consultant who would deploy Dark Easy, and, it would then give us the much needed information to drive retail. So we're very tech-enabled. The entire business is sitting on technology. From our support center, we can tell the last sale in the most furthest away store, in Kano, in Abuja, in Port Harcourt. In the support center, we can see the last sale in the last 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes. We can see into the stores. We also have that connection of cameras that we see we watch from the support center, because there's, to drive compliance, you've got to have eyes on people. Otherwise, they don't have the mental discipline to do or the moral discipline to do what's right without somebody shining a torch over their heads. Yeah? So we have the cameras, and the cameras, you would tell who are they following the keys, the opening process, the store opening process, the till processes, the customer processes, the sales processes. Are they following all those processes? So we use technology for that. and we use technology to fix a computer that's out of station. So there's software that you can use to enter into a computer that is an hour by plane away. And
wow.
you can fix, whatever is wrong with it. So we use technology. You cannot survive in retail without technology, because you want to know what are the best selling ages, what are the best selling colors, what is the best selling gender, what's the best selling styles. There's just too many SKUs that if you're not using technology, it's going to drive you around the bend, literally. So technology is the backbone of everything that we do.
So technology is wonderful for businesses in terms of automating your systems, enabling you to derive the right data from your transactions, so that you can use that to optimize what it is you're developing, or maybe you want to add a line, remove a line. It's fantastic for the business owner. But in the same breath, as much as you are developing in technology, the buyer is also developing in technology. Over the last few years, so many of us have now jumped onto, phones, and we're now exposed to the wider world. So that automatically means that there's more competition, right? As much as, we're using technology to try and grow and scale our business, our customers are getting more and more engrossed and exposed to the larger world. How does Ruff and Tumble, or how have you sort of planned for that evolution over the years, and to try and stay on top of the game? Because there was a point in your journey where there wasn't much competition, especially at the standard that you were offering. Yeah. So now that your average customer now can just simply go on someone like Amazon and buy a product and have it shipped over, how are you guys still sort of balancing with that and taking that into context?
First of all, you are not going to buy the same quality at Ruff and Tumble that you're going to get on Amazon.
Got you.
Ruff and Tumble is going to be a way better quality. And if you're trying to buy the same quality that we're offering you abroad, you're going to pay more than I'm charging you for.
So you're very competitive.
So I'm not competing with anybody, really. I'm just saying I'm setting at these price points. I'm benchmarking myself at this level, with this quality of product, this quality of service. But it also comes with understanding your customers and knowing who your customers are, and knowing what is perceived value. What do your customers value? What is important to them? We like to look good in Nigeria. And I've spent the last 20-something years of my life telling them that if you are in a Rolex watch, you're coming out of a G-Wagon, and your kids look like the way they used to in those days, then you're a poor, broke man. So you need to make sure that your children, your children don't need to wear Rolexes. Neither do they need to wear Dolce & Gabbana or anything. But they need to be dressed in Ruff and Tumble.
I love that.
Yeah, they need to be. Because that's value for money. That's good quality. It's unique. Our Christmas collection, for example, it took me 6 months to work on it. To work on prints, work on color, work on all kinds of things. Accessories, beading, all kinds of things. I feel very proud about it, actually.
I think I'm also very proud of what you guys have achieved, because so often we hear the story that it's not possible in Nigeria, especially as an outsider coming in, and it's you want to go to Nigeria to do what? Manufacturing. Here what's the word that they use? Igote? Is that?
No, so you know what? Maybe because the Nigeria I see and the Nigeria you see are not the same. Your perspective and my perspective of what is possible is not the same. So I'm not going to let you project onto me your limitations in your thinking of what is possible for me. I can't do that. So I've always said that my circumstances will never dictate or determine what is possible for me. I will create the experiences that I choose to have within the context of wherever I find myself.
That's really powerful. Where do you think that mindset was birthed in you?
My mother, definitely.
And where do you think it was birthed in her?
I met her parents, but I didn't really meet them because I was very young and they died before I was a conscious adult. But I happen to think that my mother is actually an outstanding, unique human being. To get on a boat and follow a black man.
It was a boat?
Yes, a boat. My mother came to Nigeria. I came to Nigeria on a boat. in my mother's arms. Yeah. So, and travel 2 weeks in rough waters to a land that you don't know anybody except the one man. And then you die. There's like 1,000 people at your funeral 50 years later.
Wow.
She was coming home. This was home for her. She made it home. And nothing stopped my mother from making this country her own.
Wow.
Nothing.
That conviction, I think it really carries a lot of us. I think I have these conversations all the time when you know, and the one thing that I think that really, the one thread that I think really ties a lot of entrepreneurs together is this word resilience, right? Yes. It's the one thread that I see cuts across all of us. That in that sort of radical resolve that whatever happens, come rain or shine, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to allow myself to be surprised along this journey and just keep going and grow along it. I think that's really, really powerful. And, you know, and a lot of us, you know, going back to some of the guests that we have talked to as well, it's either one or two parents a lot of the time. That one parent that's just like, to thyself be true.
Yes, unto thine own self be true.
Yes, that one parent that says, you can and you shall. That's definitely my story. You know, my parents were very much like, not very conventional. Oh, you're a girl. We only had girls. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do, go and explore. Find out who you are. Find out what it is that makes you tick. Try to explore that within the confines of a loving and very stable home. Go and explore that. And I think that resilience was something that was very much birthed in me, also at a very young age. And when I hear you speak, I can almost hear your mother's voice as well. Right?
And if you say in the context of a loving home, and not everybody has the privilege.
Not everybody does,
of growing up in a loving environment. You can grow up in polygamy. But one of the things my mother said to me again, my mother was the most powerful influence actually in my life. She said to me one day, well, you can blame your father, you can blame your circumstances, you can decide to play a blame game, or you can decide and make a choice to be who you choose to be. So I say I was born, but I went through a rebirth. What be me mutora me be?
Wow.
Yes.
Can you interpret that for those of us who don't understand?
I was born, but I went through it. I was born again. I was born, but I went through a rebirth to be who I am today. My
mother's version of that, and this is, again, when you hear the voice of that mother, who's a very, very strong staple, these sayings always come back.
Yes.
Omotabi to tuare bi.
Yes.
I repeat. Yes. Very, very powerful.
It is.
Do you think in an entrepreneur's journey, that moment is critical for them?
I think so. It's a living thing that requires attention, time, resources, people, energy. It requires, it consumes things and it will consume you if you're not careful.
You're the first person on the show to describe entrepreneurship as that. It absolutely consumes you.
It does. Because it becomes an obsession. That's why I said, are you interested or are you committed? There's a difference between I'm interested in something or I'm committed to this. So when you become committed to something, you can become very quickly obsessed with it. You live, you think, you breathe, you wake up. You wake up in the middle of the night and you're seeing colors.
Do you think
you're seeing children's clothes? Yes, in your dreams you're seeing children's clothes.
That really is the reality, though, isn't it?
It is.
I'm constantly looking at furniture. I don't think I can go to a place without assessing the furniture. I will be that person who will come to your house, see your chair, and I'll be looking under it to figure out how that was configured. It's an absolute obsession. Yeah. Do you think every great entrepreneur that has an obsession, do you think it is a weakness or a strength?
I think, this is a great question, by the way, because I think that the saying that there's a time and a place for everything under the sun. And I learned this through my own journey, that I was very single-minded in the beginning about what I wanted to achieve. I knew what I needed to do. I knew the kind of expectations I placed on myself, the demands I placed on myself, because I wanted to do this well, and I wanted it to be something that Nigerians will be proud of. You know, I wanted you to look at it and say, this was made in Nigeria. Oh, wow. No, go away. You know, because I grew up with people saying things like no good quality can come out of Nigeria. That's utter BS, you know, because have already defeated somebody in their mind when you tell them that they can never do anything of good quality. How dare you tell me I can't do anything of good quality? If I have to pull my teeth out, I will pull them out to get good quality. If you see me cry at work, I'm crying inside my factory because somebody did Raz work for me.
That makes you cry?
Oh, I'm very proud of my work. I'm very, very proud of my work. It's my gift. It's the service that I bring in the service of humanity to show people what is possible. That's my path. That's my gift.
Your purpose?
That's my gift to the world. That's my intention in the world, to show what is possible. And that's why under our parent company, it says creating possibilities. Because I believe that nothing is impossible. You just haven't found a way to do it. All things are possible for them that believe. And you cannot divorce your spirituality from this journey.
Oh, no.
Because it will test you, it will stretch you, you will second-guess yourself, imposter syndrome will kick in, and you have to be mentally strong to be an entrepreneur. And I'm not talking about getting a 5 billion naira contract from the government to supply. No, I'm talking about making. Creating.
I'm talking
watching,
about creating, yes. Watching
something grow, something from nothing, putting all the different bits together,
yep.
And then it becomes something. That's a gift.
Is that the part of your journey and your work that you love the most?
Yes.
Seeing like a bit of thread and a little bit of cotton evolve into something that is, wow, that's actually a beautiful item.
Somebody said to me yesterday, or day before yesterday, I forget which one of the days is, every time you come into this factory, you smile. But there were days when I went into the factory and cried. But now I smile because I've got some great people on my team. They understand the vision, they're running with the vision, and I'm just grateful to be in that space and in that place.
How much sacrifice do you think you've made to get to that point where you've found your tribe, your business tribe, as I like to call it? Because I know there's some stories behind that.
As I said to somebody once, I kissed many frogs who didn't turn to Prince Charming, but I finally found my tribe. But I kissed many frogs.
How many years did it take?
I started when I turned 50, so it's 10 years ago. Because I wanted to build a business that would outlive me. And I realized that I needed to bring in a different kind of person and a different... I felt I had done as much as I could do at the time with what I knew, even though for me, continuous learning, it's a lifestyle. It's not I've learned this, I know how to do this, and I stop. I'm constantly learning. It's either I'm learning how to manage my emotions, how to interact with people, how to deal with difficult people, how to sell a new product, anything. Just keep learning something. First of all, it makes you interesting. You know, and it's nice when you're interesting. And it's nice when people sit with you and they learn something from you. You know, it makes you feel purposeful and useful, you know. So it's good to always learn. People leave school and never pick up another book.
Do you think you have the same zest you had back in 1998?
No, I don't.
How's it changed? How's it evolved?
I have passion for the business. I don't have the energy anymore. I had the energy of 20 women when I started this thing. When I started to break down the business and I realized I was the chief designer, chief marketer, chief procurement officer, chief salesperson, chief this. My husband said you were chief everything and you didn't collect salary on all those chief anything that you did do. Now that you have to put people in those positions, now you will appreciate what you did and what you built. And I thought that was the nicest thing he ever said to me. Well, one of the nicest things he ever said to me. So in other words, appreciate this journey and what you have given to it to be what it is today.
When you think of Nigeria, when you think of Africa, when you think of manufacturing, that threefold. And you think about the future, taking the lessons that you have learned along the way and taking the gifts that you've given the industry, where do you see Nigeria and Africa manufacturing in the near future? Let's say the next 15 years from now.
So, I think there's a huge opportunity ahead of us. I'm not a doom and gloom kind of soul. I'm an eternal optimist.
Do you know any entrepreneurs who are doom and gloom that have succeeded?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
No, I don't. And besides which, I wouldn't hang out with low energy people.
Yes.
I don't hang out with low energy people. I like people who, they see the possibilities, they see the opportunities, they have a can-do spirit, and they have that mindset that is expansive. Once you sit with people who are moaning and complaining all the time, it's contagious. It's like a disease. It just spreads. And you can get spellbound and captured in that space and not move. And there goes your life and your dreams. So be careful.
Do you protect that very intentionally?
Oh, I do. I'm very intentional about who I hang out with. I'm very intentional about who I let into my space. I'm very intentional. I guard it very jealously, because my home, for example, is my oasis. That's my sanctuary. So I guard it very jealously. I don't want bad vibes. I want good vibes on please in my space. But so where do I see Nigeria? I think that where we are is sad, but then after it is sad, what next? And what then do we need to do? And the only thing we need to do is encourage manufacturing. That's what China did. China shut out the West, shut out their government, system of governance, shut out their everything, and decided to become the world's manufacturing hub. And they did it in less than 30 years. There's more billionaires per square foot in China than anywhere else in the world. And I saw them do it, because the first time I went to China was like 20 years ago. And people used to spit on the floor. Crude.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah.
Yuck.
They used to spit on the floor. They were crude people, crude bush people.
They probably in some instances, maybe the way they'll probably describe Africans now.
I think we're better.
That's interesting.
No. I think we're better.
They were that bad.
You see what has happened is the systematic breakdown of the educational system of Nigeria has been a disservice to the young people of this country. A complete disservice to the young people of this country. But you see, I said something. You have the internet. You have access. So there is nothing that should stop you. If you want to learn something, you will learn that thing and you will stand out with it. You don't need to learn it in a classroom. I personally signed up on courses like Udemy with my staff to see this Udemy self that is 2,500 naira. What can they be teaching you? There's stuff there. And it's not only, there's Coursera, there's a whole host of them. All you need is a phone. It's not an ordinary phone. What do they call
Android?
Android.
Or a smartphone?
A smartphone, so that you can follow the classes, so you can learn. And I'll give you an example. I had to do a photo shoot yesterday, and there was a young boy who was orphaned that was hired in my office as a photographer. He then comes in and he says, and so I look at him and I say, there's something different about you. Tell me your story. So he tells me his story, and I said to him that you can be anything that you choose to be, even though your parents are not alive. And he looked at me like I was speaking double Dutch. I said, yes, you can. You build yourself, you make a decision, you become intentional, you plan, you draw up a plan, you discipline yourself. Discipline is the foundation of all success. Without discipline, you cannot be successful. So I said, okay, look for as many courses as you can find on photography, lighting, blah, 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 that you need. And paid for them. Oh yeah, start. The passion with which this young man consumed the information and turned himself around. He's taking portraits for me today. How many years later? I'm so proud of him. He's taking portraits for me. He was ravenous in consuming the energy. in consuming the information rather. And look at him today. And that opportunity is open to as many people who make the decision and the choice to go through that process. It is a process. Nobody promised you that it was going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. So get over yourself and just know that it's not only you. And you know where I learned that? LBS. I went to do a course in LBS and I got up and I said, there's no this about generator and digging borehole. The professor said to me, is it only you? Everybody here is going through the same thing. How are they making money and you are not? Nothing shut me up so badly and so quickly. Because fact, what is making the people in Alaba market turn over billions of naira? You have a degree from a university. You can't string a sentence together and you feel privileged because you have a degree, but you can't do anything, you can't create value. Omo, come now. You can't behave like that. You have to become a person of value. What does that mean? Create value, add value, you will never be hungry.
Absolutely.
Never. And not everybody will be an entrepreneur. Some people have the head for it. They have the grit for it. Because you will wake up in the night. You have to pay salaries. You have to pay government taxes. You have to pay rents. You have to pay this. Your landlord doesn't warn you, evicts you overnight. You have to look for a new place. I mean, the things that come at you or that can come at you when you take on this divine assignment.
We both understand that laugh.
we
get that chuckle.
Yes,
we get it. Yes.
You know. A lot of things will come at you. And so, you need to know how to deal and you need to have a support system. And this is especially for women. You want to be a mother, you want to be a wife, if that's what you want to be. You want to do all those things and you want to be a financially independent woman. Because when you are a woman and you're financially independent, I'm not talking about bragging rights. I'm talking about a level and sense of security that it gives you, that you can literally spread your wings out. They get broken, you get up and you fly again. They get broken, you get up, you mend it and you fly again. So it's not negotiable. It's that you should want to be financially independent, no matter how wealthy the man you're married to is, or you are in a relationship with is. You need that. It gives you options. It gives you choice. It gives you choice and options. Who doesn't want choice and who doesn't want options?
I certainly do.
Yeah, so do I.
Within the space that we both operate in, do you think there's more of a role for women to play?
Yes, there is, but there's something I wanted to say about manufacturing, which I didn't say. Oh, good. Adenike and her conversations, which was manufacturing has to be the future of Nigeria. And I started telling you the story of China, and what I was saying is that there has to be a deliberate attempt by the government to set an agenda that promotes manufacturing. There's no way, there's no other way.
We've been talking about this. Well, I've been talking about this for probably the last 5 years.
I've been talking about it all my life.
Who's listening?
I believe that, when we as an electorate, when we begin to see the numbers, you see the budget of Lagos State that was published, something billion on chickens, 18 billion or something on chickens, and I don't know if you've seen it.
Just for the government houses, or this is for all of us to share?
I don't know. Well, I didn't get the chicken.
Did anybody get their cut of the chicken?
I didn't get any
you
chicken.
Didn't get any, no. I didn't get any
but
chicken.
You see, once those things become public knowledge and people begin to ask questions, why are you buying a 400 million naira car? Why are you buying a 400 million naira car? What do you need a 400 million naira car for?
If they injected 400 million naira into your business today,
I will have thousands of people working. I'll be shipping all over the world. 400 million. The only thing is that how many dollars is that one now? Oh, but the thing is, it's testing us. It will continue to test us, and we just have to keep being innovative. and we have to keep finding new ways to serve the customers, so that you create a community of people who love what you do, believe in what you do. They become your apostles. They talk about you everywhere. They promote your products for you. And, it's just like a moss that's rolling down a stone that's rolling down the hill.
Well, talking about the stone that's now rolling down the hill, you've been training, you've been teaching, you've been passing on some of your knowledge now for how many years?
All my life. I've always said from the beginning, you can't work with me and leave me the same as when you came in, unless you don't want to learn anything. Because by nature, I would just guide you. Now, sometimes I can be a bit impatient with that, but I would mostly guide you in a way that you would become a better version of yourself if you can see and you are consciously awake. Because you cannot teach a person whose consciousness is not at that level, awake at that level, to receive the gift of the information, because it is a gift. To receive the gift of that information. For some people, it will pass over their heads. It's not their time to receive it. So it has to be with people who are ready to receive it. They can then hear and they can see.
I always say that for most things that we want to attain and grab, we must always see it first. We must envision it.
Your imagination is your greatest tool, and your greatest is your power. I go as far as to dare to say that your imagination is actually God in you as a human being. The expanse of your imagination is God in you, showing you, opening your mind. If you surrender and open yourself to see, to learn, to hear, and not let your ego or your story from the past come into the present to short circuit you from what can be for you.
How do you develop your vision?
I see it first in my mind. I see it in my mind, and I keep seeing it in my mind, and so when I fall asleep, when I put my head on my pillow, I look at it in my mind's eye. I see myself in it. I'm talking to people. I see it. When I wake in the morning, before I open my eyes, I look at it again, and I thank God who set the vision upon my heart, believing and trusting that the provision for that vision will meet me. If not that day, it's on its way.
So let me tell you where I'm at with that journey. Sometimes I have an idea first is birthed, and then I try to visualize the idea as though it's happening right now.
Yes.
I try to immerse myself into the emotion of that thing happening.
Yes.
And I struggle.
So
those roadblocks, right? I can't. It's almost like you want to see the rest of the picture, but it's not appearing.
No, you make.
Is that a muscle that you have to develop?
Yes, it is.
You just sit within the moment.
So meditation helps when you quiet your mind. And when I say quiet your mind, it doesn't mean you're not thinking about anything. You just try and focus your mind on something. And that's very difficult. When I first started it, I used to feel like there were ants crawling all over me, and I wanted to jump off the mat. And it's one of the gifts that I received from yoga, from practicing yoga, where I faced my own resistance of myself and my thinking on my yoga mat, where I then disciplined my body to sit there and just be quiet for 30 minutes and not move. And oh my God, for somebody who jumps all over the place, it was like, wow. But the more you do that, the more you are able to create images in your mind. And I also draw. So I went through a phase in my life where I had tons of colored pencils, and I journaled. So I have probably 200 journals that I've written all kinds of things, and I've drawn all kinds of things. So I would draw. I mean, don't be thinking it's artwork. It's just myself and my pens just
freehand.
Yes, freehand. Mm-hmm. And I immerse myself in the middle of that thing. And I draw all the connecting. So I do what is that thing called? It's like a web.
Mind mapping?
Mind mapping. So I mind
so effective.
map. Yes. So
Super
I mind
effective.
map the whole thing. And the factory I want to build. So what happens? I want to build a factory, and I need land on the expressway. And then somebody comes up to me and says, there's land on the expressway for sale. You know, and it's like, yes, because I'm vibrating on that level. You
visualized it.
I've visualized it. I've written it down. I've drawn it. I've set an intention, and the value of that intention is to create employment, is to create value for my community, is to create value for myself, is to build a legacy. So it's not so much as it is self-fulfilling as much as it is giving. So it is giving, it's going to give employment. It's going to create employment. Mm-hmm. So it's going to create value in the communities that it's in.
Which is what Nigeria particularly is crying out for.
It is.
It's seriously crying out for that. On that agenda, we came and we said, we'd been in the country, we'd been in Nigeria now manufacturing for about 6 years. And we're like, okay, how do we sustain ourselves in the near future? I kind of imagine, okay, this is where we are today. Where do we want to be tomorrow? How do we get there without the skills of the hand to actually produce the products that we wanted to produce? So we went ahead and started our training academy. And this is something that we felt that not only was Nigeria crying out for, in terms of job creation and opportunity, the industries themselves are dying out because the skills are just drying up. The demand is there, but the hands to fulfill those jobs are not necessarily there. So we started that. What is your vision for Nigeria and Africa as a whole in terms of the trained skills? When we talk about alternatives to standard education, right? The other alternative, a very strong and powerful alternative, is skilled labor. Mm-hmm. What do you imagine for Nigeria and Africa moving forward? And how do you think the skilled labor journey needs to be mapped out in order for it to be successful? Because everybody's trained every day, but what are we doing wrong?
I think the quality of the training in some cases it's not as good as it should be, because everybody falls into this bandwagon of I want to train. What do we do at RUFF and TUMBLE? We can bring like 50 people. When we bring 50 people in, we pay for their transport to come every day, and we give them a feeding allowance. Of those 50 people, maybe we will shortlist only 10 people that we can add to the pool. And we're doing this throughout the year. Because it's not only about them having the skill, the technical skill. It's 3 things. It's them having good character, where they have the mindset that is open to learning. They have the discipline, because you see, you are not in your shed or your shop in Oshodi, where Baba Sikira can come and visit you. You put the work down. You have told the customer to come and collect it at 5 o'clock. But you put the work down. You eat amala and ewedu and momo and what have you. You talk gist. Your customer will go, it's not ready. It's not. Very unprofessional. You can't do that. You are sat at a machine and you're working from when you come in at 8 in the morning. You go for a 1-hour break. You come back in till you close at 5. You are sat at a machine repeating a process, because we run a line. We have 3 lines, and we run these lines. So we have to train people. We're using some machines that are computerized. So we have to bring people in to train them. Now, we can't keep all the people that we bring in that we train. So what happens is we get a big job to do hundreds of thousands of uniforms. You have a labor force that you can tap into, that you can bring, that knows your values, knows your principles. You have trained them on different machines. You can plug them in and you can deliver. I can't keep them on unless I have those jobs flowing consistent, back to back, which is the goal. Because now, I don't see why any school in Nigeria should be importing school uniforms from anywhere in the world. Those uniforms should be made in Nigeria. I don't see why anybody should be importing uniforms from Bangladesh or importing uniforms from China. They should be made in Nigeria. And there should be a law that says that those uniforms should be made in Nigeria.
Or if you want to import or utilize Nigerian manufacturing, open your factories here.
Yes.
Hire our people. to man those factories.
That's what I told one company who came to us and said, they usually give it to people who go and make it in Turkey. They go and make it in, do I know where Mauritius is? Yes, I know where Mauritius is. They go and make it in Mauritius. I said, that is most, I'm looking for the word I used for them. I can't remember the word. It's right here, but it's not coming out. You are a big enough company that should have a social conscience and recognize that you are actually robbing Nigeria of those jobs. And if you are robbing Nigeria of those jobs, what is the social implication of that? Young people all over the place with no work.
Nothing to do.
Nothing to do.
And the level of importation across industries that we bring into Nigeria every day, those young people can service those industries easily.
It will take time to get them, because it's taken us time. It's taken me bringing in technical managers from Bangladesh, from all over the place, to train our people, because you pay $6,000 for a machine that is just doing one part of a shirt. You don't want one boy who, whether he has smoked banana or didn't smoke banana, comes and sits at it and
burns your coils.
Yes, So you need somebody who is going to train and train properly, so that when you leave, you have a real skill. It's not guess. It's not a. It's that you actually have the skill. And if you go in anywhere, you can add value. And because you can add value, you will always receive value. So that's what we do. For me, Africa has to wake up. The dawn is now. We have to wake up from slumber. We have to rescue our continent. And it's not going to be without a fight. Because white people, I will say that, white people, the West, the Americas, they are used to an African that doesn't think. This whole thing of an Africa that is woke has hit them in a way that they never expected. That's my own analogy. They didn't see it coming. Because if you look into the whole wide world, Nigerians are doing some of the most amazing things all over the world. In science, in agriculture, in medicine, in banking, in technology, name the industry.
There isn't one.
There is a Nigerian there. Top 10. He or she is there. And some of them went to university in Nigeria, by the way. Mm-hmm. Some of them went to University of Ibadan, University of Lagos, some of them, that's where they went. So what went wrong? So people are trying to survive. And when people are trying to survive, there's very little innovation that can come out of that space. But if you think about some of the things that is coming out of Nigeria at this point in time, music, fashion, technology, fintech,
content.
The movies, the content, the things people are building, the gadgets people are building, they're crude, but it's a mind that realizes there's a process and a flow to this thing. And if I follow this process and a flow, it means logically you should be able to do this, And I think there's some pure geniuses in this our country that's why when we go out of Nigeria, we flourish. But a lot of people are almost brain dead from the hardship of daily survival, that they can't take on anything else because all they just want to do is survive. When people start fainting on the road because they ate 2 days ago, they haven't eaten, that's a bad sign. So for me, we need to stop buying 400 million naira cars. We need to put money into things that serve the people, that are in the best interest of the majority of the people, not of a few. And we need to get to that place really quickly. And we need to awaken the consciousness, the thinking. My generation is responsible. We were all in survival mode and got into businesses and left a whole different set of people to go into politics. So I think we need to rethink our governance systems. But I feel that as a people, we're an incredible cocktail, colorful culture, from all the different parts of Nigeria. I was in charge of the harvest in my church one year. And, when people started saying, oh, this person is Igbo, this person is Yoruba, I grew up as a Nigerian. I don't think of myself as anything other than a Nigerian. So I'm not going to say I'm a Yoruba woman, so blah, 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 blah. No, I don't say that. I grew up as a Nigerian. My mother said, you are a Nigerian. You will never be anything but a black person in England. So you might as well be who you want to be here. In Nigeria, where your name is Adenike Morenike. Just fly here. So I'm very connected, deeply connected to my Nigerianness and who I am as a Nigerian. So for me, it was, how do we bring all these dissenting voices and show them that actually there's strength in the diversity of culture, of language, of style, of clothing, of everything that we have, is actually an amazing cocktail that makes us more interesting than any other African country in the entire African continent. From food to dance. Have you seen the TIV dances? Man, those people, their bodies like rubber. Wow. Or dances from the East, from parts of the East, from Asaba. Not even just Port Harcourt or Enugu, from inside Hinterland Araba. I've been to those places by road because I'm a Nigerian. And this is my country. So I don't disparage Nigeria. This is the country that has blessed me. This is the country that's made me who I am. I can never curse it. You get more of what you say. Remember the power of the spoken word. So what are you speaking into existence in your life when you sit down and curse the country that you are in? How will it bless you? A thing you curse can never bless you. Where is the blessing? You have turned it into a barren land. So we need to awaken our consciousness and to speak what we want to see, not what has been. Because, look, if you keep looking back when you're walking a straight rope, what will happen? You fall. So why don't we create a new narrative for a powerful, colorful, cultural Nigeria? And the young people are doing it. And that's why I love the young people. They're doing it in fashion, furniture, music. You cannot go to a nightclub anywhere in the world. Or, let me say a shopping mall, because they have some nightclubs where they play.
Even in the elevator lifts now.
They play Nigerian music.
Yes.
In hotel lobbies, they play Nigerian music. In restaurants, they play Nigerian music. What does that mean? What does that say about who we are? We have so much we can export.
We have a captivated audience. What do we do with that?
Yes. The potential and the possibilities of this country is limitless. But you need to be able to see beyond, I don't have light, I don't have water, the government did, the government didn't. You have to get out of that to see. You have to elevate your thinking and elevate your consciousness into a place where it can create, as opposed to a place where nothing is good, nothing happened, this off our head, and everybody starts to sing about this off our head, suffer. No.
In this role of self-reflection, self-awakening, what role do investors play? You've gotten to that point where you now believe you can do this. You've got a resolve. You've even taken the first few steps forward. You've started something. You've hired your first staff member. And you're now on the trajectory of what looks like a possibly amazing life journey. What role do investors play in that?
So if I take what I was doing at Lion's Den, for example, the idea is one thing, but the driver of the idea is as important as the idea itself. The values and the principles of the founder or the idea, the whatever you want to call the person, founder, yes, the idealist, is as important as the idea in itself. So I may invest in the person, because I believe in the person. Because, at that early stage, the amount of energy you need, the values, the principles that guide the way you behave, the way you treat people, will shape the culture of that organization. I'm working with a consultant who tells me that so many Nigerian entrepreneurs steal from themselves. And I'm saying, why would you want to steal from yourself? You don't trust the process. So you steal from yourself. There's no need to do that. How would you invest in somebody who's stealing from themselves? You can't. Because they will steal from you. So there is a place for ideation. There is a place for, what are the unit economics of it? Is it viable? What is the audience or the market that you want to address? Who is the product serving or the service for? What value is it adding to people's lives? How is it serving people? There's a place for all of that. But if I smell character issues, I'm not going to invest. I won't. But if I look at you and your beliefs, the things you've done, not the things you're talking about, because there are people who will always be talking about something, but they're never actually doing anything. So we live in a world where you have to show what you're capable of doing and what you've done. So if I say this is it, well, if you look at the tech boys, they're getting billions of dollars, literally millions and millions of dollars. Proof of concept, I think is what it's called. So you can show that, yes, there's proof that this thing is a viable business, but I'm also going to look at the character of the person that's involved at the end of the day.
Do you think we're struggling on that character front? That's why we're not necessarily getting access to the investment that the rest of the world is enjoying right now?
I won't say that that's why we're not getting it. I think we're not getting it for a much bigger, we have a much bigger problem.
Because we are getting it. A lot of people have got investment, but not on the scale.
I think it's the stories that are being told about our country. It's the narrative and the perception of the place called Nigeria. People say that, they can't go off the island. Excuse me. How did you get to the island? It's an island now, is it not? How did you get there? From where did you get there? Oh, it's not safe. Well, I was in Balogun. Nobody mugged me. And I'm walking around people all the time. Nobody's mugging me. In fact, nobody's looking at me safe. Nobody has my time. Mm-hmm. So the narrative, we need to change the narrative of our country. We need to write a new story for Nigeria. We need to leave the past where it is. In the past, carry the lessons along with us, but leave the past in the past and reimagine the space Nigeria and what is its potential and its possibilities, and then give the leadership a good shake-up.
Would you ever go into politics?
No.
Why?
Because I don't think that I would survive it. But I believe that my service is in the work that I'm already doing. And my gift to the world is already in the work that I'm doing. So I don't need to be a politician to impact. But I would like to be able to influence politics for the greater good of the people. I would like to awaken the consciousness of the political class to the need to take care of every citizen that carries a Nigerian passport, not just a select few.
It's been over 30 years in this journey.
Yes.
It's been over 30 years in this journey. Are you happy?
I am now. So life is in seasons. And honestly, the truth of the matter is, I've been in the valley. I have. But I climbed my way out of it. I've been at the top of the hill. And I've made a wrong decision and gone tumbling back down the hill. As my daughter said, Mommy, I got to the top of the hill, only to discover there was a taller hill I needed to climb. So are you telling me that when I get to the top of that hill, there's an even bigger hill? As insofar as you're alive and you want to give, you will always find a hill in front of you. You then decide if you want to climb it or not. Or you can say, you know what, at this level, I'm good. I'm happy with what I'm doing here. I'm happy with the impact I'm having here. But then if somebody arrives something and they're doing something, be content. Because you made a choice to stay where you are. Otherwise, in so long as you can fly, spread your wings and soar in the skies. Because that's where you belong. And that's where you should be. And nothing should stop you. And if your wings break, they will heal. Yes, they will heal. And you will spread them again and they will hurt. But you will overcome it again. So it's a game of the mind. And it begins with self. Everything begins with the self.
Wow. Guys, I'm not surprised. This episode has gone precisely how I envisioned that it would go. I'm filled with goosebumps. I've learned what I already suspected to be the truth, but I've heard it from the horse's mouth. Mrs. O is not only a phenomenal example for every young person who dares to embark on something that is bigger than them, who dares to try to envision a life for themselves, irrespective of where they were coming from. Guys, as I continue this journey, I am constantly reminded the importance of surrounding yourself with giants. Not only will you learn the greatest lessons of your life, but you will see a future that you never thought that you can imagine for yourself. Guys, have a wonderful week. And as per usual, please don't forget to be extraordinary in the way that only you can be. Bye, guys.